Welcome to Living from the Inside Out with Holly Wade. Living from the Inside Out is about living fully, guided from your inside. Holly shares the wisdom of how your mind, body, and spirit are truly connected and that you deep down know your own answers. Holly and her guests will provide tips, practices, and inspirational stories to help you approach your life from your own heart. And here's Holly.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Living from the Inside Out. I am your host, Holly Wade, and I am so excited to bring on a couple. This is the first time I've had the opportunity to do this. So today I have Elvin and Allison Perez, who have a relationship coaching business. They work together as a couple, which I think is, it takes a special team to be able to work together.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to hand it over. And Elvin and Allison, will you just tell us about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So we are a married couple. We are business partners, which, as you said, adds a whole nother layer, right, to the relationship. But it's a choice that we made on purpose, right? We actually started out working together. And so uniquely, we knew we wanted to end that way as well. There aren't a lot of places that hire married couples, right? Married teams.
Yeah, for a reason.
A reason, exactly.
Absolutely.
So that was one piece that set us down the entrepreneurial path. But yeah, really, we have had such an amazing growth expansion experience individually and together throughout the years. And it is what we believe our true soul calling and passion to provide that transformation to other people. And so through our programs that we offer, we call ourselves intuitive relationship experts plus love and alignment coaches. And so we do work with individuals and we work with couples. And so we have ways to do both because we do believe in the self, right? And that being such an important part of the relationship, not losing yourself, but learning how to, not do that, but still stay and grow your partnership.
Yeah. I think that's such a key element because we are who we are. Mm-hmm. And I see this a lot of times in friendships and relationships with my friends is that, you get into a relationship and you just kind of get into a routine or a habit, but I can speak for women that somewhere along the way, they're like, oh, I lost me. I don't know who I am.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm curious about men too.
Mm-hmm. The same thing happens. I mean, we end up kind of playing a role is what we call it. And so instead of asking ourselves the tough questions like, who do I want to be as a man? Who do I want to be as a father, as a husband or a partner? We kind of just say, well, this is the way it was kind of done in my family, or that's not what I want. So I'm just going to do the opposite. But we never really take the time to figure out what it is that we truly want and who we really want to be and how we want to show up for ourselves and for our partners and for our families.
I love it. So it really is an inside work. You
all
have to
day.
work inside in order to make that happen. So what does that look like?
Wow. It's a little different for everyone, but really it starts with getting honest and being open. Mm-hmm. That's really the key in the foundation to making most relationships the most that they can be, is to being honest with yourself and being honest with your partner. When we first started dating, as Allison said, we had worked together prior. She was actually my boss. There's a little scandal there. So yeah, another story, another day. All right?
Exactly.
No, but
it happens.
Yeah. Well, and for us, it was a slow burn. We slowly became friends. And then one day it just ignited into something more. And it literally happened just like that in a minute, in a second. It just ignited, and it was like all of a sudden I couldn't not see her as more than my boss and friend. And so the problem was when we came outside of work, we knew each other inside of work, but we didn't know who we were outside of work. And at that point in time, we were both very compartmentalized. I would say Allison a little more than me.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. And when we came together, we're like, wow, this is explosive in the exact opposite way we wanted. Like, we know how well we can work together, but why is this so hard? Why is this not working the way we want it to? And it was really asking ourselves those questions and getting honest and getting quiet and kind of going in instead of looking out and saying, what is it about me? Right? What is it that I need to, what am I doing? Because I know what it can be like, but it's not.
Yeah.
So, we both took that time to look within ourselves.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long. It didn't take long to do that initial overview and look and see, okay, there's some pretty big, things that we need to kind of focus on and fix here. And once you do those bigger things, it's that 80-20, it's that 20% that causes 80% of the struggle.
Yes.
And once you identify those things, 80% of your relationships, great and awesome, and it makes it so much easier than work out the kinks. And that's kind of where we've been at, is working out all those other kinks over the last few years. And it's been awesome. Like, our relationship is just so easy. We truly just love each other, and not to say we don't have arguments or complaints or fights, but we're very open and honest with each other when those things come about, so that it doesn't build, so that we don't have resentment, so that I don't assume I know what she's talking about or why, and make a fool of myself.
Right. Yeah. Because that is the act of love, that vulnerability to say, hey, can you explain this to me? Because I'm not quite understanding it.
Yeah.
And that can be really scary. But that's the necessary part, especially with the people that we love. I find it just interesting in my own, just looking at my family dynamic with just growing up with my family. Isn't it interesting that the people that we're closest to are the people that we have the most friction with? And yet we say those are the people we love. And rather than engaging or asking the hard questions, we just get frustrated.
Yeah. And I think I love what you said there, Holly, because that is the truest, right? These are supposed to be the people that know us best, and vice versa, our closest, dearest loved ones.
Yeah.
And yet, because of that closeness, it does cause the most friction. And what we teach our clients right out of the gate is that everything externally is a mirror of what's going on internally.
Absolutely.
So the confrontation, right, the struggle that you're having with a loved one is because it's rubbing against something inside of you. It's making you uncomfortable, right? Or it's triggering you, or it's making you feel a certain way. And where we get lost is when we push away from that person because we think, oh no, you don't get me. This is not, why are you doing this, right? We immediately defensively throw that hand up.
Yeah.
And instead, the question that needs to be asked is, why is this bothering me so much?
Yeah.
That's where we turn inward, right? That's when we say, okay, is it because there's some truth to what they're saying, right?
Yep.
Or maybe there isn't truth, but they're actually feeding a fear or insecurity that we have. And so it feels too real. It feels too scary. And that's where that friction comes in. So that's why when you do the deep dive work, right, when you go inward, and you're able to uncover, ask yourself, those are the tough questions, right? But those are the necessary questions to grow and expand personally.
Yeah. As a mind-body expert, I teach people to pay attention to the sensations in their body, because that's your communicator. And I coach on that same thing. Your life is mirroring things back to you. Relationships are the thing that grow us faster and more than anything else.
Yes.
And that's what causes anxiety. That's what causes, and it doesn't matter, your love relationship, your coworkers, your family, meaning parents and siblings, all that is creating this all the time. And so we need to rewire that hardwiring in us. We have to unlearn a lot of things. And those romantic relationships are really what allows for that opportunity for growth, if you allow it. But I find that people run away from it.
Yeah.
We're scared because we've been taught to fear pain rather than to go into the wound and address it. And I think that people give up a lot of times on a really magical relationship, because that's the thing that can deepen and grow both people. When you have the tools and skills to understand that feeling that's coming in you and look inward and say, okay, here's my opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
I'm making things up.
Yeah.
Here's your opportunity to grow. Like, as an example, fear of intimacy will rise up in both people's bodies, down in the nether regions. And it will appear as a physical thing.
Yes.
And there's an opportunity that you can say, oh, this isn't the relationship for me because this showed up. So clearly that's showing me something. But I like to choose to say, let's go into the wound, because this is your very opportunity to grow through it. Why not with this person? If it's not an abusive relationship.
Right.
Agreed.
You know, if it's yes, you get out. But if it's not, if there's a genuine caring love, this is your wound to own and your opportunity to use this person as a tool for healing. And that sounds really impersonal, but it's the most loving thing that we can do for ourselves and with this person, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We absolutely agree with you.
We always say that through the discomfort and the pain lies all of your dreams. Lie all of your dreams.
That.
You know, somewhere along the line, we confuse comfort for happiness, and they're not the same thing.
Yes, I agree.
And so it's a very important, like you said, we have to relearn, sometimes reparent ourselves.
Yes.
Often reparent ourselves, I should say. And so, you know, the people that are closest to us are also the ones who can inflict the most pain, hurt, and damage. But through those relationships, we can also deepen our understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to understand yourself in a void, in a vacuum where it's just you. Yeah. But when you can see how you react to other people or things that they say or how you interact with them, you really get a better understanding of who you are and how you want to be and how you want to act and how you want to present yourself and love yourself through all of that.
Yeah. Because there's a video that Will Smith has been, you know, doing kind of life coaching stuff, putting that on there. But there's this great video, and I think it really explains relationships so well. And he talks about how he and Jada took responsibility for their own happiness and recognized that it's not my job to make you happy. But when I make myself happy, then I can bring my best to you.
Yes.
So how do you encourage people to do that? Because working on ourselves is hard enough. And then when you're bringing in a relationship, it does take work. I mean, I know that there's been this trend in coaching that if it's hard, it shouldn't be, don't do it. Well, I
path of least resistance. Yeah.
I disagree. Sometimes we got to roll up our sleeves and dig in, and then we find the you know, it's more that water cuts through a rock. And sometimes you got to dig in and do that hard work to reap the easy rewards.
Right.
Yeah, reap the ease that comes from the work. Right. And I want to point out something real quick that you just said too. I love that word make. Like, so I can't make you happy, right? And then therefore you can't make me angry. Like, I just want to point that out really quick.
I say that again because I think that's really important to understand the other side of the coin.
Yes. So if I can't make you happy, then you can't make me angry.
It makes us take responsibility.
Correct. So that's a huge, huge piece of this puzzle, right? It's that emotional responsibility that we need to take for ourselves. And that goes for our emotions. It goes for our actions, our behaviors. We need to know that no one makes us feel a certain way. No one makes us do something. And so that is a difficult piece of the puzzle, but it is necessary for the growth of you as a person and with your partner.
Yeah.
But it's not just romantic. And I want to make that clear too. I think the most common sentence that my clients say to me is, my mother makes me so angry.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course, that's what it feels to you like, right? But that's not actually the truth, right? So then the counter question is, no, this situation, this conversation, or even this word made you angry. Why?
Yeah, that's the friction.
Yeah.
Yes.
One, it's that old adage that, just because someone's pushing a button doesn't mean they put the button there. Right. And so we have to take, how do we remove the button? Because once you do that, you no longer get triggered. If someone can say something and it doesn't bother you, then it just doesn't bother you. You're like, okay, that's kind of weird for you to say that. And you're on to the next instead of taking offense to it.
Yeah. And so that kind of starts to answer the original question that you asked. So where does this come from, right? If we're responsible for our own happiness, like how does that work? And it's exactly what Elvin just said. It's about healing your own uncomfortableness, healing your own triggers, and this is truth, and we live it, we teach it, we do it all the time. So we know that this works. When something triggers you, and a trigger, I think people get confused by what a trigger is. A trigger is anytime your emotions go from like 0 to 60. And when that occurs, it's no longer about the person or situation presented. It's about you. It's about what's going on inside of you.
Amen.
And
right?
that can be both positive and negative. The emotions can go, you can be
Either
sad
way.
and go really happy all of a sudden, or
Yes.
other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's even stepping into the alignment piece with our clients, like what really lights you up, right? Like sets your soul on fire, those kinds of things as well. But I think it's so key to understand that, we can now, once we know that, we can start to acknowledge. The first step is awareness.
Right.
Until you're aware, you're just sleepwalking.
Right.
Right. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And once you're aware, you have the power to choose.
Correct. And that's the second part. Yes, I love that.
Empowering rather than having to feel paralyzed by it, which I think often is the response. Oh no, now what do I do? But I think it can be a really freeing opportunity because now you know that you can choose differently.
Correct. And I think too, what happens is when you reach that awareness point, and then you get the knowledge that it's now your choice, right? And it's not that you have to disband it altogether.
Right.
Your choice is totally free. You can, choose this no longer serves me and I want to let it go completely. You can choose to keep some of it and let others go, tweak it, whatever it is. And that is so, so powerful when people grasp that they have that kind of power in their own life. Like that's where real change begins to happen. But inevitably, we will start to beat ourselves up because we will say, why didn't I know this sooner? If I had known this 5 years ago, X, Y, Z wouldn't have happened, right? I wouldn't be here if this hadn't happened. And that is such a self-sabotaging cycle that we really, really stress to our clients, really anyone that we come in contact with, that is a normal reaction, but don't get stuck there.
It's a little bit, I view it a little bit as a grieving process because, there's an awareness of, oh my gosh, things could have been differently. And from a yoga standpoint, it's a dying to the old self.
Yeah.
And that's a process too. But it's really, you nailed it. It's key to not stay stuck there.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can feel those feelings and move on.
Yes.
The better, the faster you can embrace your future because the past is done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of, yes, we can use the past as a point of reference, but we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of, well, what caused this? What created this? What da, because it is a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And we can really stay stuck in that past and kind of bring that into our future rather than embracing a new and different, free, full, loving, vibrant future.
Yeah, we always say that, feelings are visitors. They're meant to come and go. They're not supposed to stay.
You have so many good nuggets. I love you.
Thanks.
I'm quoting you too. You have no idea.
But yeah, that's really how we look at it is they're meant to come and go. They're not meant to stay. They're not meant to be held onto, because that puts you in that rabbit hole situation where you go deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself, but in a negative way. It's a very shallow way of going into yourself. But beyond that, the other thing is, when you really stop to take a look at the feelings that come up, it's okay to just kind of let them process. It's okay to, sometimes I'll give you an example. I hope this isn't oversharing, but we've been trying to get pregnant for a little while now.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime Allison gets her period,
Mm-hmm.
it's a grieving process.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We will take a day or two
Yep.
and throw all plans out the window. Because the truth is, the place from which we were going to do that was so much higher vibration originally that if we do it now, being sad, kind of grieving, we take those actions in our business, it's not going to produce the results that we want. And so we just let that go. We say, all right, we're going to start back fresh tomorrow or, the next day.
Yeah, it's really giving yourself that permission. I'll tell you, before I used to think, okay, well, another month, right? And I would try to power through that day. And it made me sad for days, almost like a week then, right? Because I wasn't allowing my emotions to process through. And when I finally, and this was it's been a while. So this is about a year ago, I'd say, I finally gave myself that permission to process, right? I give myself my permission to take that whole day off. So now literally that day, I don't do anything that I don't want to, that doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah.
And then guess what? I wake up the next day and I'm ready to go. It takes a day versus when I was resisting up to a week.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. They think, oh, I don't want to get bogged down by this, or I don't want to what have you. But actually, it moves through you more quickly when you acknowledge and let it pass.
Absolutely. And it's funny how you just said people think it'll bog them down. I don't want to be bogged down, but hanging on to it is what bogs us down.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of opening, because emotion is just energy in motion.
Yes.
And when you let yourself open, your body is a vessel. And when you let yourself open and let it rise up, we're scared of emotions because we haven't been taught how to deal with them.
Yep.
And so I think that's part of the, and holding on to it. But as we learn to let go, to me, that is the ultimate surrender. Let go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all airy fairy. It's quite
no. Sometimes it's ugly crying and
on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Been there, done that in the bathroom.
For sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Pounding it out, looking like a 2-year-old.
Yes.
Kids are so healthy with their emotions.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. So healthy. We have been diving deeper into the parent-child aspect of the work that we do with our clients, and not just from as an adult, there's still for so many of us lingering issues from our childhood, right? And so there's that connection to be made. But then there's that connection, what Elvin was talking about earlier, what kind of father do I want to be? What kind of mother? When you are embarking upon your own family, then those questions are also necessary, right? How do I want this household to be? What kind of environment? And if you don't ask yourself those questions, when you don't address those things, patterns just get repeated unconsciously.
Right.
And it's no longer a choice, going back to that, right? And being empowered and knowing that this is your choice to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd actually like to step back because I think this is a great example to let people know kind of how you work apart and together.
Yeah.
So you did bring up that, as a team, it's a goal to become, well, and goal is such a small word to say it, but you're trying to become pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And yet that's a very individual way to grieve and process and deal and then come together. So what would that look like, as you're coaching your clients? How do you coach them individually, and then how do you bring them together? Because I'm just really curious to know how this process works, because I personally think that is the most effective way, and that's maybe where marriage counseling misses the boat.
Yeah. So when we first started, it was really focused on marriages and working with married couples. And what we quickly came to realize is we can help two people get along, but that's not the point. That's not the goal. And in order for us to go deeper, we need to separate the two people out, because the issues that are coming up rarely have to actually do with their spouse or the person across from them. It is usually something within them. And so when we kind of, took note of these things, and we decided, okay, we're going to separate out a little bit more and work more on an individual basis. And then maybe one meeting a month will be together, but the other 2 or 3 are going to be separate. And so it really, it's so much more impactful, because it allows people to take responsibility for their own individual parts and actions and feelings without hurting their partner, without blaming. It's so easy to blame someone when they're right across from you. But when you're sitting across from me, or, when you're Skyping, or we use Zoom like this, when you're video conferencing across from me, I'm not the problem.
Right.
And you can keep going back to your spouse, but I'm going to keep bringing it right back to you.
Right.
And you're not going to have a choice but to really look at yourself, and then we're going to work through that. And it's a very honest process, but it's also very loving. Everything that we do with our clients comes from such a pure place. We truly want nothing for you other than what you want for yourself. We have no expectations on you. We know how great you can be, but we completely absolve ourselves of, it's not our responsibility to get you there. However, if you're ready to go there, we're right here ready to help and assist you all day, every day.
It's very supporting.
Yes, it's very supporting, and like I said, very, very loving. And for men, they don't get that a lot. They don't have another man that just loves them into existence, essentially, that provides that space for them. I think that's the most important thing that we do, is we provide that space for our clients to truly be themselves. Because when you go back out there into the quote unquote the real world, it's so easy to forget.
Yes.
And the more that we work together, the more aligned you become. You become that person that we are together more often. And that's the goal, because that's your best self. That's your highest self. That's the part of you that lights you up. It's not all those external things that we can't control that can bog us down if we really let them.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up men, because I was just wanting to address that. And we are getting to the end of this week's show. So if you wouldn't mind sticking around, would you mind doing a part 2 where we can dive into men and women a little deeper? Because I think that is so, so important. And I think that we are not doing a good job of helping both. I think the feminist movement, while it started out meaning well, I think it's creating bigger division.
Yes.
And I am solution oriented. And I think that healing comes when we heal both.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind sticking around for a little conversation,
I'd love to.
That.
Oh, Let's do it.
Let's do it. So first of all, to wrap up this week's show, where can people find you? Because we need to get you, we need people to go to you. Living in this planet.
What a compliment. Thank you so much. Well, you can, of course, find us on our website, which is www.elvin, spelled ELVIN, and AND, Allison, ALLISON.com.
Perfect.
So, of course, check us out there. elvinandallison.com. We are also Elvin and Allison Relationship Experts on Facebook.
Okay.
And we have our own private Facebook group that is called Real Relationships, Real Love. And so you can join. We do a ton of free tools, trainings, and exciting things in there as well.
Perfect. And we'll get that information in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for your time. And let's hop back on for a little more rich discussion.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at Living from the Inside Out. Listen every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. To connect with Holly, just go to www.globalvoiceradio.com. Global Voice Radio is where your voice and your message is heard.